Good morning. Good morning. I'm Reverend Kathy McCall. Welcome to Unity North Spiritual Center in Coon Rapids, Minnesota. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your spiritual path, you're welcome at Unity. We're glad you're with us today, both live and virtually. Today, our producers are Tracy and Martha in the back. Wait. Our worship assistant is Noel, and our musician is Claire Van de Krummert. So, welcome. And let me just say, we're part of a greater worldwide unity movement. We are the publishers of the Daily Word magazine. We've been holding 131 years of prayer vigil through Silent Unity, the prayer ministry of the Unity movement. So prayer is the heart and soul of unity. And our prayer chaplain today is, you prayer chaplain today, Nancy? Oh, no, let me see. Oh, yeah, Wendy.
Karen.
Oh, Karen, I'm sorry. Karen, oh, yeah, she's online. Okay. All right, there's Karen. And there's her phone number, 763-260-3510. And she'll be available after service. So thanks for being with us today, Karen. All right, and now Claire will lead us in an opening song.
And you have the lyrics, or you should soon. Up on there we go. Everybody with their morning voices. With great love. With great love, great things are possible. With great love, we can transform the world. And if you and I will be the change we want to see, our great love will set us free. We are ready for peace. We are ready to forgive. We are ready for truth and justice for all who live. With great love, great things are possible. With great love, we can transform the world. And if you and I will be the change we want to see, our great love will set us free. Yes, if you and I will be the change we want to see, our great love will set us free.
Thank you, Claire. Welcome to the Unity North Spiritual Center's Sunday service. Because we are also on Zoom, we have a number of people attending this service from other locations. How many people are here from a place other than Coon Rapids? Wave. All right, there's Candy. Yeah, there's some people from out of state. There will be a sharing of social time after the service, so stay connected to Zoom so you can be part of that sharing time. Now we will take a moment for prayer requests. Rather than say them aloud for all to hear, we invite you to speak or name a request silently or aloud in the privacy of your home. We give thanks in advance for these prayers, and we say, thank you, Mother, Father, God. And so it is. Amen. Please stay centered for the daily word. The daily word for Sunday, November 7th, is divine order. I live in harmony with divine order. Life is in constant motion, even if that motion is imperceptible to me. When I feel stuck in place or impatient with my progress, I consider the gradual yet orderly pattern of the seasons as they change. The single golden leaf I noticed one day has become part of a blaze of color just a few weeks later. The brisk chill in the morning air soon will lead to biting cold and snow. The first tender seedlings of spring will bring bright blooms and a verdant canopy followed by long, sultry days of summer. Little by little, one season turns into the next. My growth and understanding may happen in much the same way. Even if I don't notice changes day to day, my life is always in motion and in order. From James, 2nd chapter, 22nd verse, you see that faith was active along with his works, and faith was brought to completion by the works. And now Claire will play a meditation song.
I believe this is one you've heard before as well, so whenever the word's up there, you may please join in. In the silence, there is a sacred place, a secret meeting place. Love is there. In the silence, where every color blends and every rainbow ends, good is there. In the light, now you'll find that you know peace of mind. In the silence, your path is paved in gold, and all your dreams unfold. Love is there, peace is there, truth is there, God is there.
I invite you to sit back and close your eyes for meditation. Find a comfortable position and cross your arms or legs. Just let that energy flow through you as you begin to relax your body, taking several deep breaths. And as you do, just saying to yourself, I now relax. I am completely and fully relaxed. And for a moment, imagine a village where people enjoy all the benefits of modern technology, but create few of the usual problems, where virtually all of the energy comes from the sun, the wind, human exercise, and other clean and creative sources. Imagine people of differing languages, ethnicities, and religions living together there harmoniously, while maintaining their distinct cultures. where the once barren landscape is now growing lush forests, out of which come a steady stream of high value and renewable products, where everyone has enough, and each person does what they're good at, where the sick rest in naturally cool rooms without air conditioning, while enjoying views of the sky through retractable roofs over their beds. Or if they prefer, while swinging in hammocks surrounded by their loved ones. Where a continuous stream of inventions are developed by this enlightened community and are spreading across the land, bringing prosperity, better living standards, and hope. And now just take a moment in the silence to also add your own creative images of hope and beauty and fulfillment for yourself and your loved ones. I invite you to listen and absorb these words of Tibetan Buddhist teacher Sogyal Rinpoche. May I be a protector to those without protection, a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine for those who are sick or wounded until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures. And until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach unto the ends of space. For the power of imagination and the creation of positive new stories for my life and for the world, I am grateful. It is through this power that we call forth heaven on earth. We say thank you, Mother, Father, God, and so it is. Amen.
This song has been done by the Waylon Jennies. And I found it just this year, and I really liked it and wanted to share it with you. It's called One Voice. This is the sound of one voice, one spirit, one voice, the sound of one who makes a choice. This is the sound of one voice. each other to make it through. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices three, singing together in harmony, surrendering to the mystery. This is the sound of voices three. This is the sound of voices three. This is the sound of all of us, singing with love and will to trust. Leave the rest behind, it turns to dust. This is the sound of all of us. This is the sound of all of us. This is the sound of one voice, one people, one voice, a song for every one of us. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice.
How beautiful. I love that song. Fantastic. Thank you. Well, beautiful Cassandra was the youngest daughter of the king of Troy. And the god Apollo was in love with her, but she refused him. And so Apollo made a proposal. He told her that he would give her the gift of prophecy if she would love him. And so she agreed to this bargain. And through this amazing grace, she was given the gift to see the future. But alas, she finally could not love him after all. So Apollo was enraged. He could not take the gift back, but what he could do was revenge himself in a cruel way. So he asked her for one kiss, and she agreed. And when he kissed her, he somehow blew into her mouth a certain way that made it impossible for anyone to ever believe her prophecies. So Cassandra was destined to have a life of despair, because she could see the future, she could see what was going to happen and the dangers coming, but nobody would ever believe her. So she saw that the Greeks were going to attack her beloved city of Troy. And she told the people of Troy that the Greeks were hiding in the Trojan horse, the soldiers. But her prophecies went unheeded. And so the Greeks attacked and Troy was destroyed. So the Greeks, as they took her off to Greece, her reputation went with her, but they mocked her. And when she got there, they said, what do you know about the future? And so she prophesied a death in the palace and her own death before sunset that day. And everything happened just as she said. Somewhat of a sad story, but a very important story for us to learn from. And why? Well, consultant and author Alan Atkinson said, to understand that humanity is on a collision course with the laws of nature is to be stuck in Cassandra's dilemma. One may be able to see the most likely outcome of current trends. One can warn people about what is happening and underscore the need for a change in course. Some people can understand, and a few may even believe it and try to take action, but the vast majority cannot or will not respond. The Cassandras in this case may be laughed at if it ends up being false. They may be called incompetent prophets, or if it all comes to pass, they could even be blamed. Certainly the worst and most painful outcome for any Cassandra is to be proven right. So this is an interesting myth that lives in our world today. The most recent prophecies began with a few lone voices. Rachel Carson in her book Silent Spring, for example, and that was before there was an ecological movement. Now today we're hearing it everywhere we turn, from the scientific communities and even the media. So it's time to create a new story. Today is the last Sunday of a 5-week series in which we have been exploring the magical power of myth. And today's lesson is called Creating a New Story. And, the thing about mythology is it's a collection of stories and beliefs, both personally and collectively. It's actually a paradigm, a worldview, a set of beliefs that come from our personal and collective stories, our thoughts, our beliefs, our ideas. And that creates a whole mythology or paradigm. Myth is not false, does not mean a falsehood. Myth is a story that may or may not be factual, but it always tells a truth. It can be said to be like a metaphor where it is an earthly story with a heavenly meaning. So today's lesson in part is taken from my book, The Unorthodox Life. And I shared some of this same material in my class on Wednesday night. So I'm sure those of you in class remember everything I said. So actually, this could be good review. Well, Cassandra's dilemma is a myth that most likely did not happen, but it conveys a truth that we can relate to in our world today. Mythologists like Joseph Campbell have said we must create a new mythology. Our world is now changing so fast, many of the old myths and stories are becoming irrelevant and can no longer serve to guide us. I was just talking to our youth director, Kathleen, this morning, and she was saying, she's doing a hybrid Sunday school in the other room. And she had an interactive lesson planned and then learned that a lot of the people are coming online. And how do you do that? How do you learn to compensate and deal with the people who were live at the same time and virtual. So many things are changing. We now know what the mystics have told us from the beginning, that we are all one, interconnected in a great web of life. It probably is in fact true what one of them said, that the flutter of a butterfly's wing can be felt in a distant galaxy. At least we're beginning to believe that possibility. So our new mythology must take into account the fact that we are all part of the same spaceship, Earth. What can we do to create new stories or myths? Well, this is an idea I've wrestled with for a long time in the arena of church. And for a time, I was a peace worker with the Association of Unity Churches, now called Unity Worldwide Ministries. And going into different conflicted churches to help bring peace and healing taught me that there is generally a repeating story. The community gets locked into a theme and tends to replay it over and over. One person can even leave the church and another will show up, and it's as though he or she tried out for the part and was hired to play it. It's amazing to watch. So perhaps if a church community, say, has issues of power and codependency, then repeating that over and over, it will become an addictive organization. I went to help one church with a 12-person board that had a raging alcoholic for the board president, and half the board knew it and the other half did not. And the half that knew it was trying to hide the family secret and protect the other half from it. You can imagine. So these types of themes can tend to repeat. And I learned that the power is in the story and the stories that continue to be told. And that applies in our own individual lives and in the life of our communities and also in our country and in our world. We can see history repeat itself personally and collectively. So in a community, to change a myth, for example, there must be strong leadership where those at the helm are willing to hold a positive vision and stay on course amidst the outer facts, so to speak. So transformative change for all of us is threefold. It comes from, first, a state of being. Secondly, a positive story or myth. And third, from taking loving action to help. So let me give you an example of a positive, or rather first, a state of being. Some very interesting information has come to light through the work of a pioneering nurse named Carol Montgomery, who's associated with the University of Colorado. She wanted to find out how deeply caring nurses remained healthy while maintaining close relationships with the patients they served. So Carol knew that caregivers had been taught and lived by the premise that they were supposed to care deeply for their clients while not getting too involved because of the very real potential of burnout. So in interviewing those nurses who had a reputation for being seasoned experts at caring, she discovered that they did nothing in particular that was caring. It was their genuine sense of presence, of being, rather than doing, which established a deep bond between nurse and patient. By letting this be the form of interaction, the nurses found themselves uplifted and nurtured with an expanded ability to tap into energy, love, and wisdom. They did not find themselves depleted or burned out by their deep, caring, close relationship. So as we cultivate that kind of presence or being through spiritual practice, through prayer and meditation, deepening our relationship with God, we change our own stories, and we help the community myth. It is said that we do not heal others by what we do, but by who we are. Say that again. We do not heal others by what we do, but by who we are. Children were asked, how can you make people feel better about themselves? 8-year-old Reem said, if someone says to me, I feel no one likes me, I would say, well, I like you, and if the people don't like you, they're not the right people for you. But the people that think you're special are special, because deep inside your heart, way inside, if you really feel deep down, you'll find you are special. 9-year-old Caitlin said, if they don't feel like they're pretty, you could say, well, you're a lot prettier than a person I know who has big, bulgy eyes. 8-year-old Jacqueline said, everyone should have an alarm clock that says nice things to them in the morning when they first wake up. So transformative change includes, 1, cultivating this state of being, and secondly, affirming a positive story or myth. So we can't just go into our family reunions or our community circles and say, now listen up, we're going to start telling new positive stories. We'll just forget about the abuse in the family or the community and we'll move on. Well, it doesn't quite work that way. In creating a new story, we do not ignore the problem or pretend it does not exist. We face it. And then we invoke and affirm a more positive story. Myrtle Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, is my great role model for this idea. She was dying of tuberculosis, and she was told by a lecturer she went to hear, you are a child of God, and therefore you do not inherit sickness. This was a whole new story for her. She took this into her being, and it was a much better story than the one she'd been told, that she had inherited this sickness from her family members and so forth. So she began affirming this daily. If you've been in Unity a long time, you know this story, and we can hear it over and over, and it's still inspirational. But she began to speak words of truth and life and strength to every cell and every organ in her body, especially the part that was diseased. Now, if she had been in denial, she would not have done that. She would have pretended that it wasn't happening, that there was no problem. So I think she's a wonderful model for that. Going into a troubled community, one would not deny the effects of the past history. That must be faced, even while the new story, the new vision, is being spoken and acted out. And the new story must allow people to understand that even the past history has been part of the healing journey. So too, can each of us create a new story in our own lives by facing the problem or the challenge or whatever it is and affirming a new story, a new myth, which is a set of beliefs, by continuing to see the positive vision with faith. Children are asked, what kinds of things would you do to make life easier for someone who is physically challenged? 9-year-old Justin said, I think we should invent rocket packs so people could fly instead of walking. 9-year-old Matthew said, make a talking cane for people who are blind that would tell them which way to go. Not a bad idea. 9-year-old Kate said, maybe when I grow up, I will be a doctor. The third step in transforming our mythology is taking loving action to help. Well, after lecturing her 6-year-old on the golden rule, the mother concluded, Always remember, we are in this world to help others. And the little girl mulled this over for a minute and then asked, what are the others here for? Well, Myrtle Fillmore healed herself, but she did not stop there. She asked God what she could do. And then she began to pray with people, and they were healed also. It was her gift. And she went on to help create what today is the Unity Movement. Now, it's amazing how one person expressing a spiritual presence or a state of being can affect the whole. And especially as we begin to serve and help others beyond ourselves. The late Rosemary Fillmore Ray, granddaughter of Myrtle and Charles Fillmore, wrote in her beautiful memoir, "The old paradigms will not work in a changing universe. The challenges facing our world today cannot be solved in the same consciousness in which they have been created. Life is demanding that we think in higher categories. To survive as a human species, we must learn finally and forever that violence begets violence. And the eye for an eye morality, as Gandhi so aptly said, ends in a world of darkness. The urgency of this time calls for a revolution of consciousness. Revolutionary times demand revolutionary thinking." She went on to say Charles Fillmore was a revolutionary thinker. We forget that sometimes because so many of the things he taught, like the role of the mind plays in causing illness and the power of positive thinking, to mention two, are now widely accepted. But in the beginning, he was considered shocking and was often condemned by established religions. He wrote, "All reforms must begin with their cause. Their cause is mind. And mind does all its work in the realm of silence, which in reality is the only realm where sound and power go hand in hand. All philosophers and sages have recognized this silent cause, this perpetual outflow from center to circumference. An important belief in a community is that everyone has something valuable to offer. Some bring enthusiasm capital, creativity capital, financial capital, love capital, compassion capital, and on it goes. The wealth that is born can take one's breath away when a community comes together to make a difference." You know, from the time I arrived here 2 years ago, I have been impressed with this ministry's outreach. You know, Family Promise, in which we've helped to support homeless families beyond our Unity community, and also Family Table, which helps to feed our greater community every month. I've also been impressed by our volunteers, and we're having to amp that up again since COVID. You know, next week, we'll be honoring our volunteers as a whole. But ask what you can do in a spiritual community and in other communities which you're part of. Even small actions can make a large difference. And ask what you can do in your own life to take action, to change your stories. Children were asked, the biggest challenge of all might be getting people up off their couches to go out and make the world better. Any ideas? 10-year-old Micah said, put spikes on all the couches. 9-year-old Ben said, run a commercial that says, if you do not turn off your TV, we will cancel all TV shows. Emily said, you should have to clean up for a year every 10 years that you live. Not a bad idea. 10-year-old Bash said, have a huge speaker that puts people into a trance to fix the world. We could probably get some of our great ideas from our kids, really. Finally, Julia said, start doing something yourself or get someone who a lot of people like to start something. Buddhist Jack Kornfield said, we all have, without exception, a very deep longing to give to the earth, to give to others, to give to society, to work, to love, to care for this earth. And that's true for every human being, and even the ones who don't find it, it's because it's been squashed or somehow suppressed in some brutal way in their life. But it's there to be discovered. We all long for that. We did not have to be a prophet like Cassandra to see the world is in desperate need of help and a new mythology. We can help this transformative change to manifest in our communities and within ourselves by cultivating a state of being, affirming a positive story or myth repeatedly, and finally taking loving action to help. And I'd like to close with a well-known story that describes how that can happen. There was once a man who had been traveling for a long time. Having run out of food, he was weary and hungry. And he came upon a village, and he thought to himself, well, maybe someone there would be willing to share some food. So he went and knocked on a door, and the woman who answered after she heard his request said, I'm sorry, I have nothing to give. He went to the next house, and it was the same, one after another. Everybody had their reason, which was a good one, for why they couldn't share. And finally, he came to one villager who said, stone soup. And he went into the center of the village, and he built a fire, and he got out from his backpack a big pot and his magic stone. And he put the magic stone in the pot, and the villager poured the water in, and it began to boil. And a man walked by and saw this and said, what are you doing? And the traveler said, I'm making stone soup. Well, how does it taste? Well, it would be a lot better if there were some onions in it. Oh, I have some onions, I'll go get some. So he goes off, and pretty soon people hear, the word travels, that there's this stranger in the center of the village making stone soup with a magic stone. So they gather around the fire, and one says, I have some carrots from last year's harvest, I'll go get them. And a man says, I have some potatoes in my garden. And after a while, every single person has gone off to get something and brings it back to contribute it to the pot. And as they sit there watching, and very soon, they have this incredible, delicious soup that is enough for the whole village. So they sit there and enjoy their soup in gratitude for the miracle that they created together. So, it's a great children's story that is important for all of us because it is this idea of putting our talents together and the miracles that can happen. So may we all find greater miracles and enchantment by creating new and powerful stories, especially those of love and oneness. God bless you. Thank you.
The song I chose today was written actually by a friend of mine, Bob Fantuzzo, who is a real wizard when it comes to playing Native American flute. And this is called The Whole World Over. morning, shining down on me and you. Hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, ya, ya. Hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, ya. Now people the whole world over, just like me, just like you, we're all in this together. Gotta do the best we can do. Hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, 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 ya, 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 ya. Hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, ya. Under the same old moon in the heavens, when they hear the babies cry, mothers the whole world over sing a sweet lullaby. Hey, ya, ya, ya. Hey, ya, hey, ya, 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 ya. Hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, ya, ya. Now people the whole world over, just like you, just like me, everybody needs to be loved. Everybody needs to be free. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Hey, yeah. Hey, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, yeah. Hey, yeah. Everybody needs to be loved. Everybody needs to be free. Everybody needs to be free. Everybody needs to be free.
Thank you for that beautiful song, Claire. This is the time in our service when we we bless our offerings. Be grateful that we can give offerings. If you're attending via Zoom, we invite you to go to our website, unitynorthmn.org, and find the donation button on the home page and give your offering there. Or if you prefer to mail a check, you can send it in to our address, which is also found on the website. Those of you present, please stop and drop your donation in the box by the entry doors. So let us speak our offering blessing. Please join me. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I